TG Geeks, episode 309, January 18th, 2021. We all need a dancing abuela. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm coming to you. I'm who am I?
This is Keith Lane.
Okay, I'm Keith Lane, and we are coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, I think it's spring already, Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, you took my line. How dare you?
Sorry. Did I stomp all over it?
Yeah, well, I was going to say something along the same lines. And this is Ben Raggington showing you evidence that, yes, we do actually do this live. That little intro is never canned because, boy, did we mess that one up.
Oh, regularly.
Here at TG Squared Studios yes, it is springtime, at least until later this week, in which winter returns.
Oh,
Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, it's supposed to rain later this week.
No, stop it. Make it stop. Make it stop. Make it stop.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we are going to talk to Jesus Canchola Sanchez. He is the author of a bilingual children's book, a queer bilingual children's book, and he's going to tell us all about that. And we have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, and everybody's favorite feedback. We got a bit of feedback in there.
I got a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah, and some shout-outs. And then our second segment, we have a couple of things that we're going to talk about.
Some rewatchings that we're doing, and some new rewatchings we're doing.
Some new other things that we're doing. And then our weekly recap and our final shout-outs for the episode. So let's just get right to it. And this time we welcome to our show Jesus Canchola Sanchez. He's a writer and filmmaker, and he has a very, very interesting book that is about to be will be released tomorrow as of the airing of this podcast on Tuesday. So Wednesday the 20th, right?
Wednesday, the 20th.
Right, Wednesday the 20th. Sorry about that. Anyway, welcome to the show, Jesus.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with you both.
Yes. So I've kind of left the thing, everybody hanging here. So before we talk about your project and your book, why don't you give our listeners an idea of who is Jesus Canchola Sanchez?
Yeah.
That's an interesting story.
My life story. So I'm a writer and filmmaker that is currently based in Chicago, which for me is home. I'm from the Midwest originally and grew up here. But I've been working, writing, producing for quite some time, both in television, for other production companies, for the theater as well. And then finally, in 2019, after a few years of working on my first feature-length film, it premiered in Mexico City. It's my first feature-length film as a writer-director that came out in 2019. I was really excited and happy and proud to be able to have that to share with an audience. And it premiered in Mexico City because it's a Spanish-language film that I shot in Mexico, in my father's hometown.
Oh, wow.
Which is a small little town. state of Guanajuato, which is central part of Mexico. So that came out, Bittersweet Waters, and I am so happy that it's now available for streaming. So folks that have Amazon Prime, Deku can stream it. TLA is releasing in the United States, and it was a wonderful experience and dream come true for any filmmaker to have like their first feature and to be able to see it on the big screen was just magical. So I'm really happy that after years of kind of building the toolkit, right, the tool set of all the different crafts and skills that you have to have under your belt to be able to make it happen, that we were able to make it happen, you know, and that I was able to share it with an audience. So once that was premiered and we did the film festival circuit, I'd had the idea for quite some time of Pepito, the character Pepito, because I knew I wanted to share the experience of my growing up playing with dolls. You know, I'm a big fan of children's books. I've been since I was a child, and now as an adult, I still like to read them because I find them to be really engaging and just visually captivating, especially those books that touch on diversity or difference, you know?
Right.
And as I was doing my research, really understand kind of the trajectory, I found this one particular book that really inspired me from 1972, written by Charlotte Solotov. She's a really prolific, she's no longer with us. She was a prolific children's book writer, and she wrote this book called William's Doll that was released in 72. And I discovered it, and I was just so taken by the story. Now, that book kind of touches on a boy playing with doll, but the frame is more of he wants to be a dad. You know, it's like it's good for him to play with doll because it'll help him be a father.
Right.
It didn't really go that into either like gender norms or sexual orientation, anything like that. But nonetheless, like groundbreaking, especially at that time, you know, because there's such an attachment to what a doll personifies, you know, in terms of femininity, and a boy should not, you know, play with feminine things like that. So I was just taking like that, and it just sparked in me that, okay, I think this is the format. I do want to do a children's book. I do want to tell the story. And then I started to work on Pepito Has a Doll, and I had the wonderful experience of meeting Armando Minjares, who's the illustrator. We became friends before I even had the conversation with him about the book, because I met him through some non-creative work that I was doing in Kansas years back. That's where he's based. You know, both of us are Midwest boys. And we both just bonded, and then I started to actively look for an illustrator and discovered that he was a wonderful artist, and just started talking with him. And then he started sharing with me that he was also a boy who grew up playing with dolls, and it all just worked out and flowed so well. And here we are a couple years later with Pepito Has a Doll, which will be released in a few days, on January 20th. And we're really, really happy and excited to be able to share it with y'all.
Well, that is wonderful. I grew up in the 60s, obviously. I was born in 1960, and my sister had, my God, she had so many dolls. It was crazy. And I remember there was one doll that was kind of her raggedy doll, and I cut all the hair off to make it a little boy doll so that I could play dolls with her, you know. But, you know, it was just one of those weird things. And my mother made all these doll clothes for all of her dolls. So it was, I won't say that I grew up playing with dolls per se. Well, I guess
I did.
The G.I. Joe doll.
Well, no, but I played with girls' dolls.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I when I was 4, I did it all the time because I thought it was cool, and that was it. I didn't think anything different of it.
Yeah, you always had a friend. And I think that's, having read your book, Pepito Has a Doll, it really was his friend. And it's a fascinating book. So tell us what is the message of Pepito Has a Doll, if you want to share that.
Yeah, I think, you know, as you experience the story, you really see him exploring kind kind of how he feels towards this doll in relationship with like his living with his grandmother, and the difference that is between him being able to play freely with her at home and then going to school and not being able to kind of share his friendship with his doll openly, you know.
Right.
There's like this, he has to keep it hidden, you know. And I think ultimately the message is that foundation of love, both self-love, but also like familial love and advocacy and solidarity and having someone's back, which is what the grandmother represents, and also his new friend, Miguel, in the story,
Right.
of someone being able to have that level of strength to kind of stand up for themselves and really kind of own their feelings and own where they're at and believe in who they are and be able to stand up with themselves, knowing that other people have their back. So it's like that level of foundation of love that we all need in order to really kind of fulfill who we are as a person. And I think that's ultimately that message of Pepito discovering his strength, discovering his own self-love through this friendship and the love that he has from his grandmother and his new friend, you know, in order to be the true self that he wants to be. And in this case, you know, he wants to play with his doll, who's his friend, and he doesn't have to hide her. You know, why
Right.
hide her? He's his friend. He wants to take her to school, and you know, she should read just like he's learning to read.
Exactly.
You know? So
I love
ultimately,
that.
it's that self-love, you know,
Yeah.
that we all need to be able to be our true selves.
Yeah, I love that he took the doll to school so she could learn how to read. And
Yeah.
I loved Abuela. She was just delightful. I mean, you don't really talk about her a lot, but to see the illustration and what we do get about Abuela was just, she sounded so fun and lively and, you know, just fancy free, shall we say, and had a tremendous amount of love for Pepito and wanted him to live and lead an authentic life and be who he was. And then to accept Miguel in there as well was wonderful. I thought the whole book, I was charmed by it. And it left me with a really good feeling. And I liked how you also introduced some Spanish words into the English, shall we say, as a teaching mechanism. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, it was important for me to have a bilingual story, English and Spanish. You know, I grew up with both languages, and I think the experience is, it's a very much a reality for so many folks now in
Right.
terms of growing up in a home that's multilingual, and I wanted to share that and have that be a central part of it. And it's also a wonderful tool for those children who aren't necessarily growing up in multilingual households if they wanted to learn, right? For families who want to learn different language, I think it's a good tool. Stories like these are really good tools to help foster that kind of learning as well. And for, you know, children in particular, they pick up languages really quickly,
Right.
As they're learning. So that was really important to me, but also to be able to share it in Latin America and Mexico in particular, which is where my family is from, to be able to have the story be accessible to those audiences as well and families, which is also really needed. Which the history of children's book touching on issues of diversity or difference in Latin America are not as bountiful as in the English language arena. So I wanted to make sure to contribute to that, to have these kinds of stories available for families and children that need them.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is wonderful. I grew up in Oklahoma, so I didn't grow up around too much Spanish. But when I moved to New Mexico, it was fascinating to hear the Spanglish and, you know, people just freely moving from English to Spanish to even some of the Native American languages. It was fascinating, and I'm sure that is something that you experienced growing up, and that people today really, if their parents are culture conscious, shall we say, they teach their children Spanish. So I know that some don't for various reasons, but I think it's important to learn your history and your family history and your culture and grow up with that. And I think it's fascinating in this book that you have both the Spanish and the English has a few Spanish words for younger children that don't speak Spanish that can pick up a few words. So
Yeah.
Something that I loved about the book as I read it, it took me back. It took me back to my childhood, which speaks to the quality of the writing. There is a simplicity to it. I'm not calling it a simple book, but it has. It's like you took the essence of the story and just reduced it down to its basics. That gave it a really beautiful truth to it. Did you have any challenges in trying to? After having done a feature film, was it challenging having to be able to write a children's book in the style that a child could understand?
Yeah, I did a lot of research before I even put my thoughts into paper. I just really kind of consumed myself into the structure of storytelling for children based on the books that I was reading. Because as a writer, you really have to understand the format and structure, right? It's very different. Like, my first experience writing creatively was writing for the stage, and then from there I moved and wrote for film, which is also a very different kind of structure and format. And now writing, for short stories and writing for children in particular, you just really have to understand the format and structure. And I think all the research that I did, reading all of the stories, the wonderful stories that have come throughout the years, was really helpful and it really allowed me to immerse myself into the language of writing for children, immerse myself into the imagination and how visual these stories are. And that all helped me. And then I started to just draft it, and working very closely with Armando, with the illustrator, really helped me really understand the relationship of the illustration with the text, and also workshopping it. We did do a level of kind of focus grouping with some of our families that were around us to help us really understand, those that had children, and we read it to them and kind of understood and saw what they were interested in and what things they pointed out in the story, as well as the images that we were working on, the illustrations. So all of that helped in order to create this final product, because you're right, it's absolutely different when you are focusing a product that you're gearing towards children. And I think using vocabulary that's accessible to them is essential, because you want them to understand the story that's connected to the illustrations, and you want also for them to connect, but also for the parents to connect. So for me, ultimately, it's the strength of the characters and their relationship with each other, but using the vocabulary that's the most accessible for children who are younger. In this case, early readers, 7, 8, 9, etc. So, yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was wonderful work because I felt like I learned quite a bit about structure and also focusing on accessible language, for children.
Right. Or an inclusive language, too. I think that it was important to know that there is inclusion, and not just from Abuela's point of view, but also Miguel, and then how Miguel stands up for Pepito, and then all of a sudden life has changed at the school and everybody is accepting.
Yeah, but the other thing that I like about that, though, is that you've taken what is a somewhat sophisticated idea and that is Miguel coming to Pepito's defense in this manner, and yet told simply so that a child could clearly see the truth in it. I mean, that was, I thought, one of the most powerful and resonating moments in the entire story.
Yeah, it was important for me to really kind of emphasize that level of strength that one has to have when one is being bullied, and I think I really tried to, as we were doing the workshopping and as I was drafting the different scenes, I really wanted that to resonate. So thank you so much for acknowledging that. I think that it took some time to really understand kind of that arc, and how to connect each of the scenes so it would be apparent not only that that they became friends, but that they became friends that loved and supported each other, and Miguel supporting Pepito at that time when he's being bullied, but also that it allowed Pepito to have his own strength to be able to stand up for himself as well, And I think I wanted to make sure that resonated because so many children unfortunately go through different levels of bullying themselves. And to be able to have that representation of like, I can stand up for myself and I will believe in myself and what I'm doing is not wrong. And I will say so, and to be able to stand. So that was important for me for sure.
Yeah. So what is next? Are you planning to do a series of?
Yeah, I'm wondering, is this going to be a career change for you now?
I've always dabbled in so many formats, so I definitely can foresee another Pepito book. I would love to collaborate with Armando again. So it's possible. We'll see how it goes with this first one, but I can imagine another Pepito story for sure. I think there are many stories that can come from this character. But my current focus is that I'm working on my follow-up to my initial first film, and I'm working on my second feature currently, which I finished the script for. And we have to see on the timing. We'll see, pending everything that's going on in our world. But if everything goes well within a year or so, I hope to be in production and be able to share my second feature-length film, which was titled Uptown Loving, and I hope to shoot it here in Chicago, which is where I'm based. And hopefully I'll be able to share that soon with everyone.
Just a quick synopsis, what it's all about?
Yeah. It's the story of two men who are in love in an urban landscape, a Latino man and African-American guy, and they're trying to figure out whether it makes sense for them to be parents together. That's the basic gist of the story.
Wow.
That's good, especially in today's culture, because as we're seeing more and more same-sex couples starting families and having children, I think that it makes it very topical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about a Pepito?
I look forward to working on it, but send me all the good vibes.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. As you know, so many things are at pause currently, but I hope that we're able to be in production within a year or so.
Yeah. You could even do a Pepito short.
Yeah. Some folks have been suggesting that. So, yeah, it's possible. I think there's plenty of opportunity with Pepito Has a Doll in terms of the kinds of things that we can do in addition to additional stories and books with him. I think that definitely shorts, animated series. I think there's so many possibilities with it. So we'll see what happens after January 20th. I'm really excited to be able to share it with folks.
Yeah,
it's we will be definitely trumpeting this book because it's absolutely wonderful. So if people want to learn more about you and anything that you're working on, do you have a website or social media presence by which they can follow you and see what you're currently working on?
Yeah, definitely. So everyone is absolutely welcome to take a look at pepitohasadol.com, which is available for more info on the book. There's a bio of me there as well. In terms of social media, I really try to keep it kind of I think I'm the kind of social media consumer that doesn't consume it very much, for my own mental health.
Right.
But I am on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram for sure. That is like my active account on Instagram. And you can find me at Pepito Has a Doll, which is my current handle. And you can, catch me there and see what I'm up to.
Okay. And where can this book be found? It's in pre-order status now, I think.
It's in pre-order now, and starting January 20th, it'll be available all over, anywhere Amazon ships to, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, Google Books. Most online platforms that have book selling will offer Pepito Has a Doll, and will be readily available for anyone who's interested in checking it out.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Jesus, for being with us today.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak with you.
This is Michael Armenenge of Slice of Sci-Fi, Winging It, and Dragon Page, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
Well, that was really a fascinating
It was
interview.
a delightful conversation.
I just loved it. And now everybody knows why we need a dancing abuela.
Yeah. You need to get your hands on this
book.
book.
Oh my gosh, you do.
The artwork is
It's
delightful.
just delightful,
Yeah,
yes.
the artwork is just so beautiful, and you'll understand when we talk about the dancing abuela, because she is so cute in this.
Yes. And here's a few selected birthdays for January 18th through January 24th, 2021. On January 18th, we have Dave Bautista, professional wrestler, actor, got his big break with Ric Flair. Made his
usually that's the way it works.
Debut.
That's usually the way it works.
He had been wrestling a little bit in some
but
minor
at
stuff,
some point, some superstar will then kind of pair up with them and work them, and then that helps them kind of break big.
Yeah, Ric Flair and whoever Triple H is.
Oh, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Oh, okay. Whatever. I don't follow wrestling, obviously.
Well, I don't follow it so much concurrently. I'm more of a throwback to like 90s and 80s and even 70s wrestling. I mean, that's my golden age.
Yep. Well, I watched it with my dad in the 60s, but it was interesting. Anyway, also he was Guardians of the Galaxy fame, Drax the Destroyer, Blade Runner 2049. He actually is in the news right now as we speak for putting I don't think it's a bounty, but a reward.
It is a reward because of some not vandalism. It was somebody did some horrible things to a manatee.
Yes, carved something into the back of the manatee, and
he's got it is a reward for anybody information that leads to the culprits behind that.
Yeah, and he's actually a collector of metal lunchboxes.
Is he now?
Yes, he is.
I think Bautista is really awesome. I really dig him.
That's pretty cool, huh? And then we have A.A. Milne, writer, served in both World Wars. He actually was, in World War II, a captain in the Old Home Guard or something like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, anyway.
Now I've got that melody hanging in my head.
Exactly. And why is my headphones are giving out or something. Anyway, he was actually the writer of
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh made his first appearance. Actually, he as Winnie the Pooh on Christmas Eve, 1925, in the London Evening News. And then the book Winnie the Pooh was actually published in 1926. Milne died in 1956. And left the rights to his wife, and then when she died, they left the rights to somebody else, and then that wound up in the hands of Disney, and then actually several other people, and then Disney bought all of the rights from the other people in the 90s or something like that.
Yeah, about.
So they own all of Winnie the Pooh now. So it's Winnie the Pooh. And we have some Facebook friends that have birthdays on January 18th. Larry Nemechek, Dr. Trek.
I love this guy. He is, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to Star Trek. But two, if you ever get a chance to be involved in a small conversation with him, and I mean small group of people, he is incredibly funny. I mean, I remember we bumped into him at WhedonCon.
Right.
And I was crying from laughing so hard at some of the things that he was saying. Like anytime he needs to get back, that Oklahoma accent, because he's from Norman.
Right.
And the things he had to do in order to get that accent back was just hilarious. And then Neil Halford showed up, and so now there's you, there's Neil, there's Larry, three guys from Oklahoma, and the jokes kept flying, and I was just in absolute heaven.
It was a little hilarious.
It was
a story in itself.
Yeah, but the thing is that Larry is just a really awesome guy. I love him to no end.
Yep. And then we have Aaron Thompson and Scott Lindner.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Scott. January 19th, Dolly Parton. She was singer, actress. Was actress, singer.
She's supposed to be doing another 9 to 5 movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They're getting Lily and Jane Fonda back for that.
Interesting. Now, the interesting thing was she came up with that theme song on the set while she was tapping her nails on the...
Well, it's fascinating she should do that, because I really wasn't a big fan. I mean, I'm not saying that she was not good. It's just that her earlier, the hits that she had prior to 9 to 5 didn't really grab me. But then the moment I heard that song, 9 to 5, I mean, it was a hook. That was like one of the best things that I think she's ever done.
Well, she also did I Will Always Love You, and that she did in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then that was after the Porter Wagner show that she did, and Hee Haw, and all of that. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas featured that song. And Elvis wanted to do that as a duet with her. But in the contract that Elvis always writes with somebody when they do a duet is he gets half the
royalties or
half
something?
the royalties. And she said, no, I don't think so. Anyway, and she was out on Captain Kangaroo once.
Oh, I didn't know that. Original with Bob Keeshan?
The original, yes.
Really?
Yep. And then, it ran for 25 years.
True.
So, and then she created Dollywood, which is in her hometown virtually, and has given a ton of money to children's reading programs. I can't remember what it was. She was in the news. It wasn't in her biography, but I know that she's given a bunch of money to libraries and children's reading programs, and started her own children's reading program. Oh. She also gave $1 million to Vanderbilt University to research a vaccine for COVID-19.
I did know that, yes.
Then we have Edgar Allan Poe.
Wait a minute.
What?
We missed Janice Joplin.
Oh, Janice Joplin. I forgot. She was Janice Joplin.
Dolly Parton was not Janice Joplin.
No, she wasn't, but Janice Joplin was Janice Joplin.
Yes.
From Beaumont, Texas. Sadly died in her early years.
Yeah, she became a huge fixture in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, I'm sure in that.
The whole Haight-Ashbury district era, time.
Exactly. And then we have Edgar Allan Poe, who is a writer known for his tales of mystery and macabre, and credited as the inventor of detective fiction.
Oh, that I did not know.
Contributed to the emerging genre of science fiction. He was the first well-known American writer to make a living at writing, obviously, resulting in a financially difficult life and career. Sure. So, very fascinating there. Then we have good friend of ours, Michael Hickerson and Tim Pratt.
Happy birthday.
January 20th, DeForest Kelley, actor, started out in Westerns.
Yes.
Was Star Trek, McCoy,
yeah.
with Bones.
Yeah, that's the big one.
He never wrote an autobiography. All of the other folks on Star Trek have written autobiographies.
Guess he didn't feel the need to.
Yeah. And of the four main cast, Kirk, Spock, Bones, and
Scotty,
He was the only one not to have appeared in Man from U.N.C.L., Twilight Zone, or The Outer Limits.
Huh. He didn't appear in any of those.
None of them. But he did a ton of Westerns before
He
Star
did
Trek.
do a lot of Westerns, yes.
And he really... He didn't like to go to conventions. He just wanted to be him. You know?
Interesting enough, I actually did see him in a con.
Right. I mean, he would.
He did do them,
but
yeah.
He wasn't fond of it.
And that's kind of strange because I saw him here in Phoenix when the creation conventions were really huge at that time. And he's terribly entertaining on the stage. Mm-hmm. I thought he gave an amazing appearance. I mean, he was very funny.
Yep,
and very informative. I mean, he told some really great tales. Working on Star Trek, both in the series and in the movies. So I'm surprised that he didn't really enjoy doing them that much.
He didn't think that he needed the limelight. I think that was what it said.
Well, that's different because
he just didn't.
I understand where he's coming from. It's not a case of look at me, and he's right. He didn't need it, but the fans, I hope he appreciated the fact that the fans loved to see him anyway.
He did. And then we have Tom Baker, actor.
And I saw him at a con, too.
Fourth Doctor. 7 seasons for 172 episodes.
Yeah, the longest running Doctor in history.
Yep.
And I think probably will go down as the longest running.
Yep. The scarf was actually an accident.
It was an accident.
They purchased way too much wool, and the knitter used all of it.
I know the story because I have a documentary on videotape on VHS where the costume maker, a lady named Begonia Pope,
yes,
she was told to knit a scarf. But they didn't say when to stop. So she took all the yarn and she knitted it. And of course,
all of it.
She did all of it. And it became such a cute gimmick that it became part of the costume at that point, because later the scarf actually gets longer. Right. It changes color and gets longer and longer. And that's that.
Yep. And he also possesses his own tombstone.
That's pretty grim.
Yeah. Pretty grim. And then we have a friend of ours, Hannibal Taboo. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
January 21st. Benny Hill, British funny man. He was in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang as the toy maker.
That's right.
Those magnificent men and their flying machines. But mostly known for the Benny Hill show.
I loved the Benny Hill show.
And his madcap sight gags. And he never owned a car. He lived in a 2-room apartment. And just never spent any money. Didn't think it was, worth it.
There's something to be said about having that sense of contentment in one's own life, that you don't need to search out material wealth.
Yep, and his estate was estimated at $10 million.
Well, if he's not buying anything.
When he died, and that was, he died in the late 90s, I think.
If you're not buying anything, then that money merely accumulates.
Exactly. And he left his estate to his parents that were dead, who left their estate to his other children, who are all dead.
Okay, where did it go?
So it went to his nieces and nephews.
Oh.
So I think there were 7 of them. So, and then we have Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, philanthropist, sports team owner, investor in Burt Rutan's Spaceship One suborbital spacecraft, the singular investor in that. He died in 2018 of complications of cancer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so sad about that. January 22nd, John Hurt. Actor, 1984, Alien, Harry Potter, V, Contact, Doctor Who, many others.
Yeah.
Chameleon.
Quite the chameleon.
Yes.
I've always liked him.
But he didn't play chameleon in Doctor Who.
No, he was not chameleon. I've always liked him. My favorite's the Elephant Man. Mm-hmm. I thought he was just amazing in that movie. But to get him to play the War Doctor, I thought was such a nice coup for the franchise.
He actually holds the record for most character on-screen deaths at 47.
Oh, that's okay. That's
pretty grim.
Notable.
Yeah. Then we have John Wesley Shipp, actor, a ton of TV, daytime soaps, And The Flash, 1990, Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
Flash again.
Well, yeah, he came back and he reprised. Basically, he was reprising his old CBS role as Barry Allen.
Yep.
Sort of, kinda. For the CW Flash, and I actually thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. And did you know that he and Grant Gustin were both born in Norfolk, Virginia?
Okay, far out.
Bizarre,
so that's I'm getting this whole string theory, multiple universes, alternate timeline thing going on in my head right now.
Exactly. And then we have Facebook friends Tony Padegimus. I probably butchered that. And Luciana Fallhaber. January 23rd, Sonny Chiba, actor, a staple of martial arts films. He was Hattori Hanzo, the sword maker in the Kill Bills.
That's the only role of his that I really liked. I've seen him in other martial arts films and just thought it never really grabbed me, but I loved him in Kill Bill.
Yep. He has a black belt in 4 different schools of martial arts.
And yet, every time I watch him in a martial arts movie, he's always getting his butt handed to him on a plate.
Well, it was the characters that he played. So.
I know, but it always looked like he was an ineffective fighter.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to blame the stuntman or the director or whatever. I just didn't care for how he was portrayed in the movies. But in Kill Bill, I thought he was outstanding.
Yep. And then we have Rutgerhauer, actor. He was a Dutch actor, Blade Runner. It was environmentalist, and usually played villains.
Usually,
yes.
Or at least anti-heroes.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah. And died after a short illness in 2019. I remember when he died. It was like, what?
He was quite surprising.
Yeah. And let's see.
Hey, Keith Lane.
Who's that?
Who's that? Yeah, my husband.
Your other husband?
No. My only husband. Stop it, you silly man, you.
61. Happy birthday.
To you.
Oh, my. January 24th, Neil Diamond, singer and occasional actor.
Yeah, his...
It was horrible.
Well, the jazz singer that he did, not the greatest movie. It got us some pretty good songs out of it, but it's a little stiff.
Yeah. Well, after that, he had thought about doing more acting and said, no, the only time that I will act is if I'm being myself.
You know, but the problem
and he made
is
several appearances as himself on several shows.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, that's okay.
Anyway, he was nicknamed the Jewish Elvis. And his soundtrack for Jonathan Livingston Seagull grossed more than the movie itself.
The song is great.
Yes. So, and then let's see, we have Warren Zevonne, singer, songwriter. Interesting, he was the son of a gangster who was Russian Jewish immigrant.
Oh my God.
And a Mormon Midwestern mother.
Whoa, hold on. This has got sitcom written all over it.
Exactly. Had a rather difficult childhood, shall we say.
I'll bet.
Classically trained pianist. He was brilliant.
But obviously that's not the field he got into.
Yeah, and albums were produced by Jackson Browne, who was a close friend of his. Jackson always produced his albums, and everybody thinks that he was a one-hit wonder, but he had a number of songs that actually did something. But Werewolves of
London is the one everybody knows.
The one that everybody knows, so that's why they think he's a one-hit wonder. So interesting enough, Werewolves of London. Wow.
Werewolves of London.
All right, and that's it for the birthdays this time.
Hi, this is Holly. You're tuned in to Krypton Radio. It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi.
Go give a listen to our friends over at Krypton Radio. They're a 24-hour geeky internet radio station where Gene Turnbow is the station manager.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
As everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators and also several different charities. One of those is the Joshua Tree Feeding Program. It's a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They set their food bank up just like a store so clients can pick and choose what they want, and it empowers them to take only what they want so no food is wasted. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree. They are a all-volunteer organization and could use your support right now. Go to jtfp.org.
And it's time for our feedback, and each of these story items that generated the feedback will be featured in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com, starting with, regarding TG Geeks episode number 305, we had a birthday greeting to Lou Simon, and she writes back, thank you so much, and, prayer and happy face and with lots of love and all that. Then we got a comment from Chuck Tomasi because we interviewed him in that show, and he says, hey, look at that. I'm on another podcast. Thanks, Ben Raggington and Keith Lane. Moving on, regarding Ben's holiday breakdown, there is nothing special about the Star Wars holiday special. Now, before I give the comment, I should point out that my husband gave quite the little unusual share on Facebook for that article, and he said Ben has a breakdown
Yes.
as he talks about Star Wars the holiday special. Which
it was
created
a play.
Yeah.
It was a purloined pun.
Yes, which created this comment from Terry Talent. She says, I hope I didn't read that wrong. When you wrote that Ben had a breakdown. Either way, I thought, well, I hope you console him with hot tea and scones. And I wrote back to her and said, I barely survived it.
Yeah.
And then moving on, regarding Ben's breakdown, is Wonder Woman 1984 a wonderful sequel? Got a comment from Jeff Baker, and he says, what makes me feel funny is I was alive, going to movies, working, and crushing on Christopher Atkins in 1984.
Well, of course.
Well, were all of us?
Yeah.
And then we close off regarding TG Geeks number 306, TG Geeks episode. Got a comment from Hamish Downey. He said, and this is, we were kind of like going over what the last year brought us.
Rehashing,
which included Keith's tragic birthday from last year.
Yes.
I got a comment from Hamish Downey. He says, I'm so glad Keith made it through his hospital stay, but the story of trying to sit up was hilarious.
Yeah.
He closes.
It was rather hilarious to me, too.
Well, I'm glad you found it funny.
And the tech that walked in.
Yeah. And then Hamish closes off by saying, thank you, Keith and Ben, for always being so supportive. And that is our feedback for this week.
And you can leave a comment on anything that we publish, whether it's one of our episodes or an article that we have published on the website. You can do that on the website, on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, or any place else you find us. We also have a listener feedback line. If you feel that you want to give us some verbal feedback or voicemail feedback, we'll play that on air, and you can be famous just like us. You can call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. Well, now it's time for the huge supporters of independent creators, whether they're filmmakers, artists, comic book artists, writers, everything. Since the convention scene doesn't look like it's going to get well anytime soon, please support those folks that would normally be in what is referred to as the dealer's room. We'd like for you to take a look at their websites, their Facebook pages, their Etsy pages, their Twitter, Instagram, all of those different things where they show their stuff off. Talk to them. You can have a conversation with them in that realm, shall we say. And you can also probably buy something from them, whether it's on their Facebook page, or I'm sure they would work something out with you. But please consider supporting independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
And during that little break, my husband was over there watching cat videos.
Yes, I was looking at a cat video. I saved it so you can look at it later, but it's really cute.
Well, this is our interesting stuff. The second segment.
We should now start calling this a rewatch segment because that's all we talk about.
Exactly. Well, we've started rewatching.
Well, right, we're watching
it was
a number
on the list.
It was on the list, but we kind of got bored because we were doing and still are in the midst of this massive West Wing rewatch. But it's like we needed to go to something else, and I didn't want to go back to Enterprise because to do a rewatch, you have to watch everything. And the upcoming episode of Enterprise is a real dog. and it's like, that's why I can't go on with Enterprise at the moment. Maybe not ever now, because this next episode really is a turd.
I see.
So I immediately jumped and went and picked out Fringe.
Yes. And I loved Fringe.
I love this show.
It was like when it was on.
Oh, it was
you were
the
watching
show.
it week to week. It was like, oh my God, what is going to happen now?
It will be fun to watch this, in a binge kind of situation to see how it carries. I'm really looking forward to it.
And then we're also a Christmas gift of mine. We got the entire Night Gallery boxed set.
Yeah, we just finished watching the first season. And it's interesting. I was really looking forward to it because I remember as a kid, this thing just scared the crud out of me.
Yeah,
it was. I found it very disturbing.
Yeah, and some of the episodes are a little dated. But there's some very interesting writing, especially Rod Serling's writing.
Serling's writing is the best.
His prose may not have necessarily translated to film very well, but I love the way he uses certain language and words, so and the prose in that. And then the other thing that we got, I have been watching for almost 2 years now, is the Universal Monsters 30 film extravaganza box.
Yeah.
And I had seen it and I thought, $85, that's a little high.
For 30 movies?
Yeah. And then it was like, do I really want to do that? Is that something?
It's less than $3 a movie.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I went back and I thought, I'm going to buy it. $157 or something like that. And I said, no. And then the other day I looked, $81.99. Okay,
there you go.
I'll buy it. So I bought it, and it's here. Yay. So we're going to start in. That has all of the classic Universal monsters. The only one that it doesn't have, and we have
some Lon Chaney, but we've got those elsewhere.
Yeah, the original Hunchback with Lon Chaney.
I think Phantom of the Opera.
Right, or Phantom of the Opera, sorry. What did I say?
You said Hunchback.
Oh, yeah.
This set does have Hunchback.
Yeah, it doesn't have the one that you were thinking of, the Incredible Cabinet of Dr.
Caligari. Yeah, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And it didn't have Phantom.
Yeah.
But we've already got Phantom, so no big deal.
Right. So we'll get the other one at another time. So that's what we're doing right now. Lots of stuff.
And this is where I run down the weekly review. These are all the items that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com this past week, starting with Sunday, January 10th, Nerdy Chupacabras, number 30. On Monday the 11th, TG Geeks episode number 308. On Tuesday the 12th, Ben's Breakdown, Star Trek Discovery Season 3 Thoughts. On Wednesday the 13th, Queer Bilingual Children's Book, Pepito Has a Doll, set to release January 20th. On Thursday the 14th, Andrea's Angle, can hear voices from the past in One Night in Miami. And that's a movie review. And then on Friday the 15th, New
thought
Sushi.
it was One Night in Bangkok.
No, that's a song.
Oh, okay.
From a play.
Oh.
And then there's Friday the 15th, New Sushi, number 108, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond from Hamish Downey. And we close off the week, Saturday the 16th, Ben's Gay Breakdown, Marriage and Murder May Have You Cry Wolf. And that's the name of the book. And that's what we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. Have a couple of shout-outs that we need to make. First, to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for publishing our content from time to time, put out by the human Arkle, Brian Weber. Find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. Search for Arkle, at ARKLE. And while you are at it, you can also look for his channel on YouTube. He's got, it's Arkle Studios. Brian has a number of his projects there, his Shameless Cash Grab series, his Rants vs. Zombies series, as well as his game videos of Trick and Treat and Star Trek Online. We also have to give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. When I asked if we could share our content there, their moderators said, hey, share away. So we do. And the URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for allowing us the same pleasure and privilege. And their URL is facebook.com/group/thegaygeek. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Other places we are found include Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Amazon Podcasts, part of Amazon Music, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays for a replay of this episode, and listen to their other content, their 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay home, stay safe, stay sane. Peace.
Cheers.